Hello, welcome back to another week, and this time, actually the final episode, reaction, review, read-along book club for Red, White, and Royal Blue. This is a weird one this week, because I don't actually have, the book to read. I was like, oh, I'll have this in my hand the whole time. Nope, not at all. I currently have my laptop sitting here with the chapter copied into a OneNote. It was strange because I was like, I can't circle anything this week. I have to put it in and highlight stuff. It was very different. It's a very different vibe, reading things on a computer or a tablet or something compared to an actual physical book. Big fan of a hard copy. I don't know, there's just something about you can smell the page. That's the thing, right? People enjoy, you can smell the, pages of the novel. It's a lot easier to read. It's, more portable. It's not as bloody bright looking at you all the time. Why am I shitting on reading on a computer so hard? But I just love, because every week you can't see it, but there's a small couch there. And I open the window or, the blinds, and I curl up, and I, read my book in, a little... I just sit there in a little fetal position, reading the book, and have the best time. And this week I was like, well, it's gonna be hard to have my laptop on my on my thighs, and I was just it's gotta be on charge. And I was like, no, I have to sit up and read it. So it's a very different experience this week reading Henry's chapter. But speaking of his chapter, oh my god, it was fantastic. I loved it. Obviously we'll get into it and stuff, but being able to get that Henry perspective was fantastic. To get some follow-up on the story, to see where they've gone was I can't even say how good this chapter was to have, and it just fulfilled me. Last week I was very I was a bit sad, a bit emotional. I was like, oh my god, it's rough that we're finishing because I've loved it so much and I've been enjoying it and having such a great time, and to move on is going to be really tough and really hard. But this week I started it and I was reading this chapter and I was just I just feel this overwhelming joy reading this chapter, seeing what they're up to. I feel last week was kind of this sounds so weird. The funeral chapter. It was sad. I was grieving. We had to move on. We had to say goodbye to the book. But this chapter, it's the acceptance. I'm yes, I'm fine. I'm happy seeing where these characters go. I'm moving on. I'm moving on to a new book. And it felt really good. And it was just so well written. Obviously, they do a fantastic job in this book, the follow-up chapter, and I'm assuming any of their other work that they have written. But it was so fun seeing because we get to cover a good amount of time and years, and it was interesting. I'm pretty sure it starts in their present and then kind of goes back through the timeline of them getting to where they are, which took me a second. For a second I was we're a bit all over the place, and then I figured it out. But we should probably get into it. I've got a lot of things highlighted, a lot of cute. Also, the thing about highlighting things is I kind of know how long each bit's going to read, because I've read a lot of this book out to y'all. And so I know when I circle something how long that's going to take. I have no idea how long or anything is, because it's a different format and it's crazy. Speaking of the final thing, speaking of the other book, the poll is up currently. I put it up yesterday, and this won't go out till kind of a week after I put it up. But I think I'll still be taking I said in the post that I'm just leaving up probably forever, so you can vote on it whenever you want. I said if there's a clear winner in a couple of days from when I'm recording this, then I'll probably just be picking that book. But I'll see how it goes, because if I buy one book and then another one rapidly wins in the next couple of days, I could just buy that one and then have the other one as the one we go to next. But very exciting. I tallied up well, I did my best to like figure out who had voted on what and just pick the top 5, because it's hard to explain in writing, but YouTube only has like 5 options. I could make like extra polls, but then you've like split this whole thing, and then I don't know, and then you have to do a bracket, and it was too hard. So I was like, picking the top 5 is just fun. It's the most like obviously the ones I think people would want the most, and they seem like really good options. I googled most of the things anyone has suggested, and they all look like really good books, and like they all had fun covers and good little blurbs. But I put up the top 5 that seem to be voted on, and I'm very excited to see where we go. Should I tell y'all what the, I don't know if I have it here. Hold on, give me 1 second. I know I was like, I have it somewhere. I'll tell you what the books are, because just in case you haven't voted or you didn't know it's up, I'll let you know. We have The Charm Offensive, The House in the Cerulean Sea, Boyfriend Material, They Hate Each Other, and The Long Run. They are the five winners. Well, they're the ones in the poll. Currently, Boyfriend Material's winning quite rapidly with a 58% win rate, but we'll see how that goes. Like, you know, things can change rapidly, but I think Boyfriend Material was the most recommended one out of all the books anyway, so I'd assume that one would win anyway. But if you'd like to go vote on that, I don't think there's a time where the voting stops. I really have no clue. I might do YouTube, but I still know nothing about it. It confuses me greatly. But I have waffled on for absolutely so long, so we should just get into this chapter. That's why I always have the things at the bottom for you to skip, because I know I'm gonna waffle. But yeah, if you would like to like and subscribe, that would be absolutely wonderful. Also, I have my Twitter I have my Twitter linked down below if you'd like to go follow me there. I post stuff, other stuff, so that's an option. But let's get into Henry's chapter. So we start out with Pez and B showing up at Alex and Henry's house. Oh, see, this is why I said I figured it out. Already reconfused. I'm pretty sure we're at Alex and Henry's apartment. That's where we are in time, because they're packing up to go where they do at the end of the chapter. But it's just because they have a lot of different houses and they're all the same sort of thing. But he's here. Henry's saying, yes, get up, come pack the boxes. We're all besties. I'll make you breakfast. He's like, I'll make a quiche. And they're like, lol, jokes. We don't trust you to cook. And he's like, no, trust me. I love the like seeing the fun sides of Henry. We obviously see a lot of like the darker, more intimate, beautiful like backstory sides, but just to see him like happy and joking and getting bullied and like in his own element is really fun. But I will start here. I'm sorry, B says. It's only that, well, Henry, the last time you cooked breakfast for me, you were 12 and you put a sausage in the microwave until it exploded. That was your idea, and it's been ages since then. I've studied, alright? I'm quite good now. Those pictures I send in the group chat aren't just for show. Oh, aren't they? B says rudely, as if his incredibly generous offer to cook a shallot and thyme quiche with mushrooms from the farmer's market means nothing at all. As if he's lived in this house for 5 years without learning to use the kitchen. Oh my god, I love it. I'm going to jump straight on to this like kitchen talk, but to just see him be so cute and like I'm a prince, but I'm not, and I'm now a man of the house. Look at me do normal things. I can cook. Look at this apron, Henry gestures to himself with the navy blue apron he's wearing. Alex gave it to him for his birthday last year. Would a man who can't make a quiche have an apron like this? It's monogrammed. You're a royalty, babes, Pez points out. Everything you own is monogrammed. From the pocket of his serious home-cooked apron, his phone buzzes. Reinforcements. The FaceTime connects, and Alex says, "Good morning, lover, Alex!" Henry interrupts. "Tell them about my quiches." Alex pushes up his sunglasses and frowns in the camera. He looks so lovely in his faded t-shirt and jean jacket and shaggy hair. Pure American heartthrob. Might as well have a cowboy hat on. Henry never does tire of it. Sorry? B and Pez don't believe I can make a quiche. What? Have they seen your apron? That's what I said. Henry's quiches are great, Alex says loudly to the kitchen at large. I almost never find shells in them. That sets B and Pez off again. On the screen, Alex's face crinkles into laughter. Thank you very much, Alex. You've been a tremendous help, Henry groans. Oh my god, it's just to see him like in his own like sort of element now, and they're all like, you know, everything that bad has happened is kind of a thing of the past, and they live together. He cooks for Alex. They just been dumb and cute, and they have presents and aprons, and they're living this like normal life is just amazing. Also, the way he's just like the line where he's like, he looks so lovely in his faded t-shirt, jean jacket, shaggy hair, pure American heartthrob. To be able to finally see, like, we have spent 15 beautiful chapters in this listening to Alex describe Henry and how much he loves him and what he looks like, and in all this beautiful, exquisite little detail, which has been fantastic. But to finally hear the other side of that, and to hear Henry talk about Alex in that way is so fantastic, because we haven't had that experience yet. Obviously, Alex is described, and maybe we get, you know, bits that Henry actually says to him, but have his own inner workings and his thoughts is just is perfection, and we do get a lot more on that. But then we get this small little line that took me a little off guard. They were talking about blah, 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 something, 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 you know, with only 1 week until moving day, and 2 until the wedding. I was like, oh, I wonder who's getting married. And then we just get all of the surprises wedding planning has brought us, Henry says. Your ability to micromanage floral arrangements has certainly been one of them. You love to curate a vibe, Alex says. And I was like, a what? A wedding? What? They're wedding planning... They're planning... Whose wedding are they planning? Their own? Is this how they're introducing this to us? Is this how they're telling us they're getting married? And I just like had a small, very controlled freak out. I did a small ee, and then like moved on briskly because I thought I might break down. Our boys are getting married. Oh my god, it's so cute. I'm so happy. I just like to think about it. I want to see that. I want to see Nicholas Glitzine and Taylor. Oh no, I always forget his last name. Taylor something Perez, is it? He's got 2 and I always forget one of them. But I want to see them in suits getting married. I just want to see them do a little mini series, a little 30-minute episode, which is just this chapter, because I think it would be so bloody fantastic. So yes, they're moving out of their house. And we don't know yet where they are moving to, though I and you probably have read the chapter. But we get to that later. But we talk a bit about our house, and then we go into a rapid, like, quick spurts of the last 5 years that have happened since the last chapter. But the brownstone had been a good house for them. Sturdy brick walls, neighbours that actually let them be. Henry loved it more than he ever loved Kensington, or at least as much as he loved Kensington when his parents both lived there too. Some mornings he'd come downstairs to find Alex with the coffee pot and the kettle already on. He feels the way he did when his family all slept under this roof is quite a bit smaller than the other one, but the feeling isn't. So perhaps David hasn't got entirely the wrong idea. It's hard to let the place go. For the past month, Alex has kept asking Henry why he's staring, and the truth is he's been committing to memory exactly how Alex looks in every room, how the banister fits in his hand, how the place on the foyer wall where he always braces to pull on his shoes. Just, David's having a rough time because he's a bit of an anxious old dog. Secondly, their like beautiful home, just like the way he feels, you know, he has this feeling like he did when all his family were together before his father passed. Like, you know, his house with Henry is home. It is his family. This is where he feels good. Like, obviously before his father passed and his mother was dealing with grief and his life became a bit of a shit show. And then he just like the way he's like, oh, I've got to picture picture Alex in every one of these rooms and just like appreciate him in all the bits, because I don't want to let those bits of the memory go. And like he's taking in everything, and we get to talk about it, but he's taking in everything slowly and just appreciating the small moments. And they're in that, like, seems like they're in that stage of like that love that is not the fiery passions of like the newlywed stage, you know, in a relationship when you first start dating, but like the passion of monotony, which I think is so cute. There's like, he loves him in his house, he loves where he puts on his shoes, he loves like every moment of every boring, normal, bland thing, and it just makes it so much more like you can see how strong their relationship is and held and become. But they talk about how, you know, it's been a lot moving, and moving sucks. And then we go into this little excerpt. He longs to be back on the beach, sipping from a pineapple. It's been a long, glorious summer since Alex packed up his White House bedroom, called Henry and asked, "Do you want to get the fuck off this continent?" They did Dubai first, then Lao, Rio, for old time's sakes, Buenos Aires, paper lanterns in the moonlight, and Alex flirting with the bartender for free drinks. June through August became a lovely blur. Alex asleep against his shoulder on the plane. Alex throwing his Portuguese phrasebook out the window. Disguises, swimsuits that got smaller and smaller until they simply didn't wear them anymore. Falling in love, the sequel, with fresh suntans and all the time in the world. And now they're here, in Park Slope, where Alex is renting the second floor of a brownstone 2 blocks from Henry. It's practical, they agreed, to live in the same neighbourhood before they lived at the same address. They've scarcely gotten the chance to date in the normal way yet, if it can be called normal when their combined security teams... They're headquartered in an empty apartment down the street. Still, Henry wants this to last. They've spirited headlong into everything so far, but now he wants to move slowly, in delicious increments. He wants to savor nights, minutes, first, to covet them and then let them dissolve on his tongue, like sugar cubes he snuck off his grand's filigree tea trays when he was small. He wants a life. So first of all, just them, like, he said that, you know, 5 years ago, they decided to go on beautiful, like, summers and, like, different, like, adventures and holidays, and just to the swimsuits that got smaller and smaller is hilarious. But I love that we get this follow-up, that they agreed to live in the same neighborhood before they did at the same address. Because I said, I think in the last one, I was like, I think it's strange if they move in straight away, because they've only been dating for a smaller amount of time, and moving in together is a seriously big step, because that can make and break a lot of things, and it can be very, like, a lot, especially when you have only really known the person, and they didn't even live on the same continent, let alone saw each other as often as they, like, wished. So thank God they just did like a decent amount of time living close to each other, seeing each other all the time, and getting more like familiar with like their different living arrangements. I think that was really good, because moving in with someone can be a absolute hell story, or it can go really swimmingly, and it can be everything in between and all at once. I definitely, when I moved in with my housemate, the first week was interesting. It was like, he's my best friend, but that first week, you just like, when you're two different people who have never lived with anyone else before, and only come from like your family's home, and you both have very set ways of doing things, you butt heads about different things, because this is you don't know how to like negotiate and figure out what each other do. I was literally like, a couple of nights I was just like, I think I'm just gonna cry, because I don't know what's going on and I can't figure it out. So I'm glad they did the living close before you live together with your partner, which is also a different thing. Friends, I think it can be a lot easier, because you don't have that same closeness as a partnership sometimes. So, to make my long story short, I'm happy they didn't move in together straight away. Henry has been talking about his damned credenza, which is, as I had to Google, practically, I think, a big chest of drawers, possibly, or with maybe like a nice like top where you put things in. Maybe you put it in a doorway or a walkway. I didn't know what a credenza was, and for some reason I thought it was like one of those like arbor things that are like, I don't know, but I do now. So we're talking about like where he wants to put it, and he's like figuring out all these things, and we get Henry turns to find him with his keys in one hand and a paper bag in the other, smiling in a beam of mid-morning light. And yes, there it is. That sweet, sharp gasp of nerves. The half second where he forgets how to use his mouth. If he knows nothing else, at least one certainty remains, which is that seeing Alex Claremont Diaz in the flesh will always do this to him. Alex in a photo is handsome, but Alex in life is a symphony. He's refracted light with a cherry collar chaser. He's got a Fibonacci jawline and a troublesome smile, with thick forearms built for posing in doorways with his sleeves rolled up and thumbing corks out of champagne bottles. The first time Henry ever told Pez about him, he said, "God, but he's lethal. It's only worse once you get to know him." Ooh, just like, we get more into the credenza situation soon, but just the way we get the descriptions of Alex is fantastic. Like, I've been missing this, because in my mind, Henry's just like, Henry's the end goal. Henry's the partner you want, because he's just been constantly built up by Alex and the way he describes him. And then to get this, it's like, you fall in love with the characters, and Henry has just become so special, because with Alex, we've been falling in love with like Henry together. Like, that's the way they kind of have it. And obviously, I love Alex dearly, and that's not the point. But you're learning about this person, and you're experiencing what Alex is. And now to hear this side, I'm like, wow, Alex is a dreamboat, even though I knew that. But you're just getting this new perspective, which is absolutely fantastic. But they start talking about where to put the credenza. "Oh, right," Alex says, pretending just to have caught on. He winks. Henry sighs theatrically, but accepts a second kiss, on the lips this time. "Why don't you just put it right here?" He points to his left, where a blank wall stretches from the front door to the front of the stairs. It does, upon closer inspection, appear to be the right size. "Oh," Henry says. This is where they overlap, where his ends meet and Alex begins. Great gooey puddles of feelings meet course of action. Endless burning energy meet point of focus. Agonies meet your most obnoxious, most natural, and most inevitable conclusions. It's frightening sometimes for a person like Henry, who has spent his entire life peddling his agonies like baguettes in a little posh bicycle basket. But what is he to do with them now? Yes, Henry concedes. I suppose I could. And Alex laughs. Okay, this, besides me just stammering on literally every word there, a beautiful way it was described, but the feeling and vibe I get from that is when two they complete each other. Henry has found that person who completes him. When Henry is confused, Alex knows. When he is concerned, Alex, anything that thing that Henry has to go through, Alex has this perfect reaction from him, for him. Whether Henry thinks, whether it's actually solid or not, Henry just knows that he has Alex, and Alex will help with anything he needs, and he will provide what he needs. I think that is just beautiful the way it was written. It wasn't just said that he completes him, but whatever he has or lacks, Alex is here in other way, the complete opposite, but here to fulfill the sides that he lacks, and vice versa, and I think that is just beautiful. It's their first chore Sunday, Alex's idea, and Henry has put down the last of the laundry in the dryer. He's in the kitchen doorway, watching Alex unload the dishwasher. Alex once told Henry the type of man he's typically attracted to. Tall, broad shoulders, pretty eyes, a little haunted, a bit of attitude, and a smile that makes you curious. For Henry, it's never been so simple. He likes boys in his classes because they bothered with the assigned reading, and fancied of Philip's awful Eton friends because he could sail and smelled of cinnamon. The thing all the Oxford boys had in common was they didn't know how to speak to him. He's never had a type, and he's always been sure Alex was singular. Anyway, Alex is unlike anyone he's ever met, before or since. But here, now, watching Alex bend over to remove a salad bowl from the bottom rack, he is confronted with a hard truth. All those boys did actually share one trait. Are you gonna help me with this? Alex says without even an oh my god, I'm stuttering. An investigatory glance over his shoulder. Are you just gonna keep staring at my ass? I love it. I love it so much. All the boys he has is just... I think that's what they're like saying. They're just... He's got a type and he sticks to it. Oh, Henry, you... I think it's so funny and so like cute. He's just like, well, maybe actually I do have a little bit of a type. I think that's one of the things I really like about this chapter. Going from that piece is we get also just a lot of these fun comedic moments. Like, it's not... Nothing bad's gonna happen in this chapter. Nothing seriously horrible is gonna happen. There's no plot. Like, this is just beautiful follow-up. So everything can just be fun and hilarious and lighthearted. And obviously this builds so much more on their characters, which I'm so so interested in. But to just have that like beautiful fun of it is great. Not that there wasn't any in the book, but knowing that there's nothing bad coming. It's just like beauty and love. Alex is, at uni. He's doing all his work for like learning how to do law and stuff, and he's like not eating, so like Henry's forced to like force feed him all the food, and he's just talking about I really liked this little excerpt about cooking and Christmas. Curiosity piqued, he taught himself the basics of pasta, how one can simmer almost anything with garlic and onion and butter, and it will taste good over noodles. It bolstered his confidence enough to truly commit, and now, between hours at the shelters and video calls with his mum, he watches tutorial after tutorial on how to brown butter and roast chicken. Only half of what he makes turns out the right colour. It's meant to, but he loves it. He loves walking to the market on the corner and hunting down specific ingredients from the family recipes June sends him. In fact, it's become a regular pastime for the paparazzi to have cotton on, which is why his mother finally forced his security team to hire an actual body double. Now, some blonde bloke named Angus, with his height and build and nearly the same face, goes on a divisionary strolls while Henry peruses jarred chilies. With all his independent studying, he was certain he could manage a dessert. He wanted to do something impressive, since they've convinced their families to let them host Christmas dinner. Only his sponge cake had gone all wrong. If he's learned anything from Bake Off, he's known it's not meant to have cracks in 5 places when he tried to roll it up. Paul Hollywood would have had him... Polaroid? Polaroid? Word. I think you might have left it in too long, Oscar asked from the kitchen island. He's wearing his white elephant prize, a sweatshirt airbrushed with the slogan, "You can't spell Constitution without tits." Inexplicably, Henry's own mother brought that one. Looking kinda dry there. I appreciate that you're all trying to help, Henry enunciates. But if you say one more word, I may start crying, and then we'll both lose some respect for me. Later, when Pez persuaded him to call it mate, put it out of its misery, he carries the disgraced platter of ganache and cake and marzipan out into the living room and lets everyone go at it with spoons. The house feels full to bursting, not just because of the Christmas crackers, but there are all 3 Alex's parents, Henry's mum, June and Nora, Bea and Pez, Shan and Zara on speakerphone, occasionally on an awkward Philip and Martha via FaceTime, and because he had nowhere else to go for the holidays, Angus. I don't like him, Alex murmured when Henry suggested inviting his own body double for Christmas. Why not? Because he looks exactly like you, but I find him deeply unattractive, and that freaks me out. Okay, there's so many, cute things here. Just the way he's like, please don't talk about it. I'll, cry if you don't, if you keep talking about my crappy dessert, I'll cry. And the thing that he's got excited and he's learning how to cook, I relate to that so highly, because when I moved out into where I am now, I was useless. I didn't know how to do anything. I feel like I was a very sheltered child. I didn't have to do a lot of things growing up, and I was privileged in that way, and I'll admit it first and foremost. But I didn't know how to do all the basic things. And I've been here probably like a year and a half, coming up on 2 years-ish. I don't know exactly. But the way I've had to learn all the things, I really do feel like Henry in this way. I had to learn how to cook and do all the things. And it's excited me. I like learning about new recipes and new things and how spices and flavors go together. And the fact that I can put things in a bowl and I know how to balance things out and add different things to make things taste better. Not always great. I still make my share of fuck ups too. Like I was cooking this week and I was like, I need to thicken up this sauce, and I added flour, which was a thickening agent, and it worked, but everything was a bit gloopy, and I was like, it's just one of those things about trying. So I really resonated with that moment. Obviously that's why I'm reading it out, but I love the way these different moments are all like poignant for different people. You can figure out what you like about them. Also, Shan and Zara on speakerphone, they're married and have a child, and I think that is so adorable. Speaking of adorable, we've got more just cuteness. This, if nothing, this chapter is just filled with the most, like, some of the cutest moments they've shared together. It's late morning, the summer before Alex's last year of law school, 2023, and Alex's first word and Alex is the first word out of Henry's mouth. Truthfully, that's how he begins most mornings. On a Monday morning, 5 time zones away, Alex, pitched low on the screen of his phone. On a Friday, when Alex's early lecture is cancelled, Alex, in F major, muffled in the pillow as his body moves and the day stretches out before them. 3:30 the night before an exam, a hoarse Alex, followed by, turn the bloody light off and come to bed. This morning, it's because David is barking at the door. A rainstorm is brewing, and if the jet lag didn't have Henry dead under the bedclothes, the grey gloom would. Alex was the one who suffered from sleep half an hour ago, and beerily ordered 3 entire pancake breakfasts from some 24-hour diner a few neighbourhoods over. He should have to get up and answer the door. Alex, Henry mumbles, turning over. Alex has got the quilt tucked up so high, he's only a shock of wild curls on the linens. Alex groans from the depths. Breakfast is here, Henry says. The doorbell helpfully rings again. David howls. Alex's face appears, pouting. There's a crease from the pillow down on his cheekbones, and a comet's tail in a constellation of freckles. Can you get it? Henry rolls his eyes, but smiles. Inevitable. He drags himself out of bed and pulls on the joggers and hoodie from last night's flight. It's not until he feels the breeze on his ankles as he descends the stairs he realizes they're Alex's, not his. That is the cutest way to just like keep talking about how he's taller than Alex. He's like, oh, these are short because they're not mine and I am taller than Alex. But just the way he's like, on most mornings, nearly every morning, the first word out of his mouth, out of Henry's mouth, is Alex's name. That is the beautifulness I would love to strive for. The first word out of his mouth is his love's name. The way they describe that is just so absolutely bloody fantastic. So we jump forward a bit. Catherine, who is the queen, I'm pretty sure now, which is really cool. She comes over to visit every now and then, which is the sweetest thing ever. And, her and Alex just, get along. And I think that's so much fun. But they're talking about different people in the family and other people who have got married and stories from Henry when he was a kid. And Alex is just casually speaking and Henry is in the doorway kind of semi-eavesdropping. But it's okay. They're all in the same house. And then Alex sighs and says, when Henry and I get married, Henry manages to recover the teapot before he drops it. It's not a surprise to hear Alex mention marriage. They've been sorting it out for years. Political logistics, Alex, child of divorce anxiety, and 1,000 questions about royal weddings neither of them actually wants to have. He's already bought an engagement ring. And judging by how tetchy Alex gets whenever Henry tries to put underwear away from him, he's not the only one. But it's the first time he's heard Alex mention it to his mother. He dropped it so casually, so matter-of-factly, as if he's been talking about marrying Henry for years. Henry supposes it's possible he has been. It is why Alex had tea with her in London last month and told Henry he wasn't invited. Have they been conspiring? I love that they get along. I love that Catherine and Alex get along. And I love the fact that he's like, you know, I have a ring for him, but also I reckon he's hiding one for me. I think that is so cute, just the way they both have a ring ready at like maybe any moment to just pop it out and propose. They're both so similar and so different at the same times, and I think that's so cute. And then we just like quickly jump out, and then we have this new line that says it's 2024. So we keep jumping through the years because we're going back past the 5 years. It's 2024 and no one knows they're engaged. Granted, they've only been engaged for about 3 hours, but Henry is curious to see how long they can go. It feels nice to keep a secret that doesn't have to be a secret. It's more that they're keeping it like a pet, or something especially beautiful from the garden they've coaxed into a jar. They shoved their phones under the couch cushions and ordered a pizza the size of the moon, and now they're sitting in the center of the living room, demolishing it. They kiss, then eat more pizza. They get distracted kissing again. Henry licks a streak of pepperoni grease from Alex's forearm, which is a fantasy he didn't know he had until he's living it. They tangle up on the rug, and Henry decides to take Alex sailing next weekend, or even out to the edge of the river, just to see him against the horizon. Nearly 5 years in, the main thing he's learned is that Alex is a world without end. All Henry wants to do is go on with him forever, to keep finding new favourite parts, to keep turning things over and studying their soft bellies and finding the best bits. So he will. Oh, wow, dude. They love making me feel single and, like, envious of them. Wow, the things I would do for this type of relationship is just astronomical. Like, I would do horrible things to get this. Oh, but just the way he's like, he just wants to see him on the horizon. Alex is a world without an end. He wants to go on with him forever and keep exploring him and learning about him. And they're engaged, and it's so cute. I love it how they don't even really say how they decided to propose, because in a way, and I think maybe I'm looking too far into it, that's a them moment. That's, you know, so much has been told to us as the audience, but in their world, told to the public and shared, and they need their private moments, especially just for them, which I think is just delightful. Also, the way he licked grease off his arm, and he's like, that's a fantasy I didn't know I had until I didn't. I was like, oh my god, you are a horny bastard, and I love it so much. So it gets to New Year's of that year. We are rapidly, but it's only a 20-page chapter. We're rapidly going through the years, but we're talking about not wanting to go to a New Year's Eve party thrown by, I think, Pez, Nora, and June, and they just want to stay in because they're cute old men now. Old men meaning 25 or something like that. In the end, it doesn't take much to convince Henry to stay in. Lately, it never does. Alex texts June a flimsy excuse. They toe off their shoes and relax out their button-downs. Henry does have to admit he's exhausted, in the way that only one can be on the last day of the year, when every other day of their year piles behind it. It's been a big one. Alex's first law job, the endless press about Henry's decision to surrender his title, the engagement, Bee's wedding, the incident with the croquet mallets and the Dutch ambassador at Bee's wedding. Sometimes Alex jokes they squeeze all that in one calendar year because no headline can stick if there's another next week. But it's only half a joke. The way that they just like casually mention B had a wedding and that, you know, Alex had a job and Henry's decided to like surrender his title, which is a big deal, but like one I stand with. But in a way, he's never not going to be the prince, which obviously I think he knows and completely understands, but it just, I think, would probably give him the freedom. And obviously his mum still visits and loves him and supports him, so I don't think he wouldn't have the complete like funding, backing, support of his family and the royal palace, with his mum being the queen, which I think is fantastic for him. Do you know what today is? Alex asks on a lukewarm September night. It's 2025. He's in the doorway of Henry's study, where Henry has been all evening answering emails. No. When Alex doesn't immediately fill the silence, Henry looks up from his laptop screen. What is it? 5 years since the story broke, Alex says. It takes a moment for him to realize what story Alex means. There's been so many of them, but of course he means the gigantic, terrible one. The one that changed their lives forever. "Oh," Henry says. He closed his laptop, leaning back in his chair and away from it. "Well, hated that." "Yeah," Alex agrees. 0 out of 10. Would not do again. His tone is light and casual, but when he folds his arms across his chest, Henry can see his glasses in the front pocket of his flannel. It's been months and months since the last time Alex didn't feel confident enough to wear them. For his part, Henry can remember much of that day, but not all of it. He remembers stirring sugar into his morning tea when Shan walked in, wearing an expression Henry had never seen before. He remembers Pez arriving like the cavalry in Gucci slippers, hustling Henry away from his handlers with the same graceful disdain he used to direct at Eton classmates who stared at them too much. He remembers B finding them in the music parlor and refusing to hear Henry's apology, and he remembers Alex's call and Alex's arrival. The funny part, though, is that he can't remember anything between B and Alex. He knows that Philip was involved, and there were stories on every news channel, and he spoke to his mother at some point, but the space in his memory where those hours belong is simply blank. His psychiatrist said it's post-traumatic stress disorder, and Henry is inclined to agree, considering the two of them spent the entire following year recalibrating Henry's anxiety and depression medication around the event. Those hours will always be gone. There are things he will never get back. Most of the time, though, when he thinks of that day, the second worst thing that has ever happened to him, he thinks of Alex's hand in his under the Buckingham Palace table. He remembers, clear as a bell, Alex's voice telling him they would survive it together. It happened to Alex too. It wasn't what they would have chosen, but it is what they received, and they've done their absolute bloody best with it. He rises from his desk, crosses the doorway, and gathers Alex up against his chest. Their size difference isn't that pronounced. Henry is taller, but lean. Alex is shorter, but sturdier. But in moments like this, he's thankful for the way Alex's cheek perfectly aligns with the crook of his neck. He is grateful for how effortless it is to slip a kiss to Alex's temple. Neither of them says anything. It's all been said 1,000 times, in speeches and through official statements, and in the dark when it's only the two of them. It's enough to stand here in the center of the house, in the quiet, and let it hold their weight. Oh, the way we get this complete look back on the main event of the book. It's just fantastic. The way we get Henry's perspective of it is fantastic. The way he talks about it, how he's like, it happened, it's been talked about, and we kind of just accept it for what it is now. That he can't remember a lot of it, through his different medications and time passing, but he remembers Alex and his strength that he gave him. And it's crazy. He doesn't remember the things between B and Alex, their beautiful conversation. It brings so much. This chapter can't not be looked at, I think, when reading this book. And I obviously knew that going into it, but I realized why everyone has always told me, make sure you read this chapter, because it perfectly just sums up everything, but just completely gives us more. It ties everything in this perfect bow, which is fantastic. So we jump to the end of 2025, so they've continued going through the years, and Henry is having one of his bad days. Alex kneels on the rug in his tailored suit pants and rolled up sleeves and rests his cheek on Henry's knee, the way he often does when Henry's in a mood. Henry's fingers slide onto his curls. They've grown in longer the past few months. Lately, Alex looks quite like he did when they first met, except for the glasses and the stubble dusting his jaw. I'm tired of Big Law, Alex confesses. It would appear he's in a mood too. I know it's only been 1.5 years, but I kinda hate it. Henry contemplates that, along with the dark circles around Alex's eyes. You don't have to do it, Henry tells him. Alex looks at him like he did in the hotel room in Paris the first time they woke up together, like the only thing he knows for sure about what he's been offered is what he wants completely. It's an intimidating look to receive, but it's only ever improved Henry's life in the end. He kisses Henry's knuckle below his ring. I have some ideas. Now, this was perfect, because when I read this, when I just got up to this part, I was like, some ideas. So they might not want to be in the life they want. Alex doesn't like this big law thing. He's more like fighting for the small. I feel like he's fighting for the small man, doing more like I don't know, helping as many like small people as he can. So I'm like, that's probably what Alex wants to do, and Henry can probably work from distance. And I was like, are they gonna move to the lake house? I was wrong, but I feel like that wasn't a bad guess. That was the vibe of where I thought it was going, and I wasn't completely off. But I was like, yes, they're gonna move and live that quiet life that they talked about, how they're like, we could spend summers here, like when they were at the lake house. We could come here more often for longer. And the way Alex was just like, he could imagine his life here, away from all the law and his big plans. So now it's 2026. We jumped again. Alex is sick, and they're just in the house together for like a week straight. And they're beautifully just enjoying their time together. And Henry's going on talking about their house, things that have happened, what he likes about the house, all the intricate little details of it. But he says the bedroom is his favorite part of the house, not only for the obvious reasons, no matter how much Alex tries to imply otherwise with suggestive eyebrows. Hey, bedroom? I can't do it that quickly, but bedroom? He loves the high ceiling and the chipped plaster medallion of roses at the center. They picked out the bed together, and every morning that he wakes up in it, he gets to turn over and see Alex's loose pens and glasses wipes scattered atop the dresser, and knows that his life is still real. Perhaps he likes the room best because it feels separated from every other part of the house, lifted up and bundled in, which is the first time he's ever been safe in a tower. Most importantly, of all 3 levels of bay windows jutting from the red brick front of the brownstone, only the one in the bedroom has a seat. They've filled it with velvet pillows and mossy green cushions, and once or twice a year, on one of their vanishing rare slow days, Alex will climb in and fall asleep. That's where he finds Alex when he eases into the room with a mug of soup in each hand. He recognizes the quilt wrapped around him. They've slept under it in Alex's childhood twin bed the night Ellen won her second term, and when Alex crammed it into his suitcase and brought it back to Washington. The veteran thing is cute, but they're beautiful, like house and their life together, and the fact that he says it's the first time he's ever felt safe in a tower, because it's just like that story when he goes back to, you know, being like in that whole fantasy realm where that's how he kind of envisions his life, and you know, different princesses usually get like locked away in towers, and that wouldn't feel safe to him. That's kind of how he was, and Alex rescued him, kind of that peasant boy. And then they talk about the quilt, which goes back to following straight after the end of the book when they got into their every part of this both adds to the story and then follows different bits of the book and talks about it, and I like appreciate it so much that we go back to these key moments and we can appreciate them even more and build on them and learn more. I think obviously that's what nearly the best part of this chapter is, but it's also knowing how far they've come and what they're doing. So we go on. Henry looks at him in his quilt, sleep-mused and flushed from fever and overdue for a shave, and he remembers that night in the Vello house in Austin, before Alex led them back to his old bedroom. He peeled up the cushion in the living room window seat and showed Henry pages of elementary school scribbles still hidden there, and he told Henry that he thought once of hiding a picture there too, if only he had the nerve to tear it out of his sister's magazine. Love, Henry has found, has a way of growing backwards. You fall in love with a person in the present, and then every person you've ever been gets to fall in love with every past version of them. A sleep-deprived Georgetown freshman falls in love with an Oxford sophomore who's testing out undoing the top button of his shirt sometimes. A ruddy-cheeked teenager with his nose in a book loves a back-talking lacrosse captain. A boy comes home from school with perfect marks and sees a picture in a magazine, and the boy from the picture pauses on a palace staircase. The crux of it is, he loves every version of Alex to ever sleep under that quilt. Everything else is mostly set dressing. I'm having a thought, Henry says. Congratulations, Alex says deadpan. Then, tell me. This life we have here, Henry says. This house. It's good, yeah. Yeah, of course it is. But We could have a good life somewhere else too. Alex frowns. Like where? Somewhere further from everything, maybe. Somewhere we could slow down, and things could be quieter. You could do the work you want to do. I think I could use some time away from it all, honestly. Maybe I wouldn't even have to have a body double anymore. Alex considers that for a long moment. They both know where Henry means, even if he doesn't say it. Besides New York and DC and London, on its best days, there's really only one place Alex would seriously consider living. They've joked about it before, but Henry always thought it might be a nice place to spend a few years, somewhere completely different he's used to. A place where he could see the stars. At long last, Alex sniffs and says, "Are you gonna fire Angus?" He was starting to grow on me. I love how much this body double gets mentioned in this chapter, but this really switches my thought, because I went back to, they're gonna move to the lake house, and then I was like, well, if they're saying besides New York and DC and London, it's probably not the lake house, because it's not like a place. And then I was like, is it Texas? Like, is that where we're thinking of going? Because I think it'd be just perfect for them to live. Henry, I think, deserves and yearns for that quiet life. He's lived so many years in front of people, you know, the whole country knowing his name, knowing that he would never know any of theirs. Like, he just wants to, I feel like, in a small town, like away from everywhere else, a place where he can learn his neighbors' names, know people in the town, where people don't really care who you come from or who you are, that just appreciate you for what you are as you are there. And I think that'd just be perfect. And Alex already has lived that life and loves that life. I just think it would be perfect for them. So I think this is where we jump back to where we were at the start. Because we were, you know, moving the boxes, we're moving out of their place together, and we were like, where were they going? And then we went into this whole backstory. So I think this is where we connect back to the start of this chapter. You know, Henry is with Pez and B, and Alex wasn't there, but "You're not home until tomorrow," Henry mumbles. "Move my flight," Alex says. He's so close to Henry's face. He's gone a bit cross-eyed. His lips bounce off the tip of Henry's nose. "I missed you." It's only been a few days, but the truth is, Henry missed him too. He supposes he should be used to empty beds and time differences by now, especially when they began that way, but he suspects he'll never stop waiting at the door. Do you know what the best part of getting married? Do you know what will be the best part of getting married? Henry asks Alex. The line dancing? The way I won't have to miss you nearly as often. Alex softly softens, then maneuvers himself over the armrest until he's draped across Henry's lap. David climbs on top of him and curls up on Alex's left buttocks. Letting go of the house has been hard, but this particular decision was easy once they finally said it out loud. A gradual, careful withdrawal from the public life, at least for a few years. They've given so much of themselves to the world and had the privilege of feeling a legacy take shape beneath them, but they need rest too. It was June who convinced them, especially. Even now, there are things only June can say to Alex. Early in the spring, when she was finally transitioning out of her speechwriting job for RAF, she called Alex from Colorado and told him she was moving to New York so she could be closer to Nora and Pez, and she wanted to sublet the brownstone. When Alex pointed out he was still living in it, she said, "We both know you've been looking at farmhouses in Austin for 6 months. It's time to get to shit. It's time to shit or get off the pot." Henry loves his particular collection of Americans. They truly do say what's on their minds. Yes, they do. But also, like, come to Australia and meet some people here. You'll really get what's on people's mind if you if you want to deal with that. They're a whole different. We could be a whole different sort. Some of us. The way they just casually talk about how they're getting married and how they're ready to. They've given so much from the world and they've had this legacy been created, which they have both as a book and in their own world. But they need that rest too. It's just it's beautiful. There's only so little left, but I love it. So they have picked out a house. They know where they're going to go. They know where they're going to live. It isn't a full release from their obligations, but it's the next step after formally relinquishing his title. More boundaries, more of their own rules about what they will and won't do. No royal wedding, but a private ceremony at the lake house and a honeymoon unpacking boxes. A job for Alex at a smaller firm where he can finally get his hands on the earth. A quieter life. You're right, Alex says. You know what else is going to be awesome about getting married? About married people's life? We can actually have real life date nights. Just imagine it. Free refills and bottomless chips and salsa. The way they just talk about the normal things and how excited they are to live that life is just beautiful. And they get their own cute wedding. Though I would have loved to see a gay royal wedding. I would have loved to see what that would have been like. But just how happy Alex seems to be with relinquishing his title. For the last time, we have the last bit I'm going to read out for this chapter, which is the end of this chapter, and for this series, though we will be rewatching the movie maybe the week this comes out. I don't know. I'll figure it out. You'll see when it comes out. We'll see it come out again. This is it. This is it. And it makes me sad that we're here. You know, all good things have to come to an end. I bought you something, Alex says. Inside the bag is a box made of the sort of heavy cardboard that augurs something expensive. He imagined Alex hurling his packed up, rough-ridden leather duffel into the overhead compartment of the airplane and then sliding his bag under the seat so carefully that there's not even a crease in the paper. He takes the lid off the box and unwraps the layers of tissue paper to reveal a hat, a cowboy hat. It's made of a gorgeous, thick felt with a cattleman crown and a satin lining. A nearly identical one has hung in Alex's office since he moved in, and Alex's is midnight black, and this one is warm, pale sand. Where Alex's hatband has a small gold buckle, this one has a pin with the shape of an English rose. It's a Stetson, Alex says. When Henry looks up at him, his cheeks have darkened, faintly. I know it's not really your thing, but you do ride horses, and it's kind of a big deal where I'm from to get your first Stetson. So I wanted to be the one to give it to you, since you're about to be an honorary Texan. You don't have to wear it if you don't want. I love it, Henry interrupts. Alex pauses, then breaks out a grin. You do? I was afraid you'd think it was a joke. That's the least ridiculous hat I've ever been given, Henry tells him. It didn't even come with a matching tailcoat. Nah, but maybe we can get you some Wranglers, Alex said. Some chaps, perhaps? I just told you not to talk dirty to me. Henry laughs and kisses him over the open box, thinking of the next year of their lives. Sunday morning fry-ups, swimming holes, a wedding cake that doesn't wind up on the floor. Tomorrow he needs to ask if Alex checked on the bakery while he was in Austin, and if they have any more packing tape, and whether Amy's daughter has gotten a flower girl dress yet. Tonight, though, Alex is home a day early, and the house is making all its soft, familiar nighttime sounds around them. No one else sees in through the windows. No one comes in through the gate. Henry, Alex says. Alex, Henry says. You and me, Alex says. You and me, Henry agrees. What a beautiful end to a beautiful chapter, to add on to a beautiful book, to add to a beautiful movie that I watched after a suggestion from one of my friends, and now we're here, and I'm so content. I love it. I'm so happy. This chapter is fantastic. It adds so much to the book and what we have seen and experienced. We go back to revisit some of the key moments and talk about it and how our characters have moved on, how they have grown, how their relationship has grown. All the characters have grown where they are at through the years, and I love how they did it. And we got to see the last 5 years we went through them, where they have lived, what they love, what they're into, what they're doing, what they love about each other, how they, are so still in love and not in the same way, but in a new evolved form, in that monotony of just everyday life, how they want to live in this quiet, it's perfect. It's perfect. It was a perfect end to just... I'm so happy. I'm content. And no wonder everyone, when I first watched the movie, recommended I read this book, because it has been such a joy to read, and so enjoyable and beautifully written, and just makes me feel whole, content, lovely, sad, depressed, lonely, but just this overwhelming, just good feeling, like learning and loving them. They will always hold a very special place in my heart. This book will. It started off, what a fun book club series that will continue. Go vote on the poll if you haven't, if you want to. If I haven't already bought the book already. It's just, I don't know. It's every book you read and every piece of media you read, I think when you really enjoy it, not every piece, but something you like this much will always, I think, attach a piece of itself to you. It'll teach you things. It'll open your mind. I think that's the good thing about, movies and media. Sometimes they're just for fun, but sometimes you have ones like this where, it might not have been the most, learning or growing, but I feel like it's attached a piece of me about love, and to think about what you want and what everyone deserves, and how to treat people, and overcoming, and a real shape of how to give yourself to someone and let people. It opens up all these different forms of thinking. I think that is a beautiful thing with reading a book or experiencing any sort of media like that. It's just the best thing ever. But I could talk endlessly and forever about how much I like this book, but I have to stop eventually, or I won't. And I know some of you will be like, it's okay if you keep talking, but honestly, I want to stop at a good place where I don't talk myself into tears. Also, my throat hurts. It gets to a point at around an hour and a bit after I've just been talking non-stop where I go, I might actually have to stop, or I'm going to do some serious damage to my throat. And when I think of it, I'm like, I still have recording to do today, and this thing is not doing well. I'm like, this under here, whatever's under here, whew, it's getting rough. But that's just the insider scoop. But again, as I said in the last one, I'd like to thank everyone for coming along with this journey. I hope we all continue together onto the next book and whatever's after that, and we'll keep moving throughout. But when I pick the winner, or when I decide when to buy the next book to see who wins, I don't know if the format will be super the same. Let me know if you have any ways you would change the format, what would go through, if you like me reading out big bits, or you'd prefer less reading, more talking about things, if you'd want more chapters condensed. The only reason I started doing for this singular chapters every week was I was already talking about it out for so long, and I was enjoying reading the big bits, that it was just taking a while, and my camera only has so much battery and everything takes forever to upload, and it was just more fun to experience and appreciate one chapter a week. But I love suggestions. I'm always open for different ones, how people think, or how people like and experience different want the format to be. So I would love any sort of feedback if you'd like to give it, because I don't know how I'll go for the next book. Maybe I'll start doing 2 chapters per thing again. We can go a bit quicker through books, go through more books, or we'll see how we go. But again, I thank you for coming along on this journey. If you watch one or all or whatever, or you're here for just the book, or you're here for me and the book, I appreciate it nonetheless. I hope you are having a fantastic day. I hope to see you in the next one.